Welcome to The Explainer. Today, we're diving into a system of spiritual development that's designed to be practical, accessible, and seriously effective for anyone living in the modern world. This system, known as Advanced Yoga Practices, or AYP, kicks things off with a pretty provocative question. With all the spiritual paths, all the books, all the teachers out there, where are all the enlightened people? I mean, that's a bold place to start, right? It forces us to take a hard look at why real spiritual progress has often felt so out of reach. So, the founder of AYP, who goes by the name Yogini, he suggests that the traditional way of doing things had some major bottlenecks. The most powerful knowledge was often kept secret, handed out bit by bit over years, and you were totally dependent on finding the right guru. He argues this system might have worked for a few, but it left a lot of sincere people stuck. Okay, so if the old way had its problems, what's the alternative? Here's the roadmap for this explainer. We're going to look at the core problem AYP is trying to solve, its really unique open source philosophy, the two main practices that drive everything, what it calls the single most important skill to learn, and finally, what the ultimate goal of all this is. All right, let's really get into the seeker's dilemma. Why is it that so many traditional spiritual paths can feel, well, like a dead end for people trying to navigate them today? The basic argument here is that a lot of these older systems just weren't designed for our time. They were built around this top-down, guru-led structure that could be incredibly slow. Practices were often given out in pieces, and the whole approach could feel out of sync with modern life, creating this huge barrier that, frankly, could scare a lot of people away. So the solution had to be something totally different. AIP was conceived as this integrated open source system. It's really about applying the principles of science, testing things out, seeing the cause and effect, sharing what you learn, and empowering the individual to the journey of spiritual growth. And what's so interesting here is the contrast. You can really see it. Instead of a system where you have to put all your faith in some external authority, AYP flips the script. It says, here are the tools. Here's how they work. You become your own spiritual scientist. Everything is laid out for you to test and verify through your own direct experience. And this gets to a core principle. The system really cautions against what it calls spiritual shopping. Trying a little bit of this, a little bit of that. The whole point here is to give you a complete, integrated toolkit. So instead of digging a bunch of shallow holes and never hitting water, you can dig one deep, powerful well. Okay, so how does the system actually build that foundation? Well, the entire AYP approach basically rests on two core pillars. Think of them as two complementary practices that work together to create this powerful engine for real inner change. The first pillar is all about cultivating inner silence. And this is a really important distinction. This isn't about trying to force your mind to be quiet, not at all. It's about tapping into the deep, silent awareness that's already there, just underneath all the mental chatter. Through practices like deep meditation, you develop this stable inner witness that just observes life without getting swept away by it. This becomes the rock-solid foundation for everything else. The second pillar? That's about awakening something called ecstatic conductivity. This is the energy side of the equation, and it's a very real physical process. Using practices like spinal breathing, you start to systematically awaken and move this life force energy, prana or kundalini, through your nervous system. The idea is that your inner silence doesn't just stay silent. It begins to radiate out through your entire body, creating this feeling of ecstatic bliss. Now, these practices are powerful. They are designed to create real, tangible changes in your system. And that brings us to what AYP calls the single most important skill you can possibly develop on this path. Self-pacing is basically your personal throttle control. It's the art of listening, really listening, to your own body and mind. You learn to dial your practices up or down depending on how you feel, ensuring that your progress is safe, steady, and sustainable. It's like learning exactly how much gas to give the car as you navigate the unique twists and turns of your own inner landscape. And here's the critical trade-off. Because the system hands you the keys to the car right from the start, the responsibility for driving safely is on you. If you can't learn to manage your routine and avoid overdoing it, you're going to burn out. That's what makes this skill of self-pacing maybe even more important than any single technique. This is just a super practical, down-to-earth piece of wisdom. It is so easy to feel amazing during a practice session, push it a little too far, and then feel completely overwhelmed a day or two later when the effects really kick in. This path is a marathon, not a sprint, and learning to manage your energy is the only way you'll make it to the finish line. So where is all this actually headed? What's the point of cultivating silence, awakening energy, and carefully pacing yourself day in and out?
What's the end game here? I want to be crystal clear about this. The goal is not to become some sterile, detached person who's disconnected from the world. It is the absolute opposite of that. The whole point is to engage with your life more fully, more deeply, and with more joy than you ever thought possible. In this model, enlightenment isn't some static, boring state. It's a living, breathing reality. It's described as stillness in action, a state where that deep inner peace you've cultivated naturally flows outward as this incredible, unending, ecstatic bliss and an outpouring of love for the world around you. And this quote just brilliantly nails the grounded nature of it all. This isn't about floating off on a cloud somewhere. You know that old Zen saying, before enlightenment, chop wood, carry water. After enlightenment, chop wood, carry water. That's the vibe. It's about living your normal, everyday life, but from a completely transformed inner space. So when you boil it all down, this entire system is engineered to create one huge fundamental shift. It's about moving from being a seeker who's always looking for answers out there to becoming a self-sufficient practitioner who learns how to unfold all the answers from within. In the end, this whole journey, this whole system, it's all designed to bring you to one simple yet incredibly profound realization that changes the entire game. The guru is in you.